The member for Mulgrave.
Thank you. I'm incredibly proud and honoured to stand here today, Acting Speaker, in support of this momentous legislation, the Statewide Treaty Bill. I'd like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations as the traditional owners of the land on which we are gathering today, here in the Parliament of Victoria, and also acknowledge the Bunurong people whose lands include my electorate of Mulgrave. I want to acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded and that Victoria is and always has been Aboriginal land. I also want to extend a thank you to those involved in this process, the First Peoples Assembly, the ministers that worked on this, and to everyone in support of this bill. Acting Speaker, this bill represents the first treaty put to a parliament between Indigenous people and the government in any jurisdiction in Australia. This is simultaneously an incredibly radical and conservative action. Radical in the sense that this represents the biggest change in our relationship as a state with its Indigenous population since colonisation, giving them a say on matters that affect them and greater ability to advocate for their rights. With the assent of this treaty, we will be standing at the forefront of the nation on reconciliation and cement Victoria as a leading light on First Nations empowerment. Conversely, this reform is conservative in that we will become just one of many post-colonial nations that have had treaties with their Indigenous populations for more than a century. The Treaty of Waitangi, for example, the foundational document of New Zealand, has been in place for close to 200 years. In following in the footsteps set by other jurisdictions, we too embark on the next stage of our long and winding journey towards reconciliation. I just want to note a personal connection as to why treaty is so important to me. And it goes back to my heritage, with my mum being from India, of Anglo-Indian descent. But growing up, she led a life disconnected to her Indian heritage and culture thanks to colonialism. She does not know Bengali or Hindi. She has never performed her traditional dances and has rarely worn a sari. My personal experiences are very similar to this, but my own estrangement from my culture is even more pronounced. My mum at least studied Bengali and Hindi at school. I can't even count to 10 in those languages. My family's lived experience mirrors that of broad swathes of our rich multicultural communities. Many have had their ancestral homelands taken from them by colonialism, and in finding a new home here, they live in an identity purgatory. They don't feel wholly Australian nor that of their ancestral culture because they feel unable to engage with both aspects of themselves and as such struggle to belong and connect. I bring these experiences to this debate because I've always felt a parallel between our struggles and those of our Indigenous communities. Generation after generation have been estranged from their culture, identity and heritage, and this is just a fraction of the pain inflicted upon them. In the last 250 years, these communities have been enslaved, disenfranchised, kidnapped, incarcerated and subjected to what amounts as systemic genocide of the longest living continuous culture in the world, a culture we should be so proud of. However, some in this place can't even find the good in them to tolerate treaty for even 100 days if they were to gain power, and that says a lot. Future generations of our First Peoples will carry the scars and burdens of their disenfranchised forebears. Similarly, all of us are lesser for the loss of millennia-old cultural knowledge that passed with the victims of colonisation. Not to mention the impact of transgenerational trauma that continues to this day and will only continue unless we, this Parliament, take the steps towards treaty, a step that our First Peoples have been calling for. When will those opposite listen and truly listen with open minds, open hearts to those who cared for this land for tens of thousands of years? To build a brighter future, this government and all that succeed it need to be accountable to our First Nations community in Victoria and commit to working collaboratively to resolve the vexing issues they face rather than dictating what is best for them. The treaty's provision for Gulingwal is a crucial step towards realising our shared aspiration for the voice that has been heard around the state since 2019 to become an entrenched part of our democracy should be a moment of pride for everyone in this place and beyond. Similarly, the Yurruk Justice Commission has done incredible work and serves as a crucial mechanism by which trust in our institutions enhanced throughout our Indigenous communities. Together, these reforms and the dozen others included in this landmark legislation will inform and support us as legislators to make a real difference in supporting First Nations communities and closing the gap in generations to come. The Statewide Treaty Bill is our opportunity to take the next steps on our path to reconciliation. Together, let's walk in pursuit of a closed gap and brighter future. I'm so proud to be part of a government that is the first in the nation to bring treaty to a parliament, and I wholeheartedly commend this bill to the House. Yeah.